Faders of the Lost Art.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Faders of the Lost Art. We are proud to announce amazing hosts Ken Lewis, Bob Horn, Fareed Salamah, and we've got a very special guest for you today, the one and only Bainz. Legendary folks in the building. What's good?
Episode 2.
How y'all doing?
Great, man.
Good.
Yo, today is a great day. Lots of new things on the horizon. We've been talking a lot about Atmos stuff. Bainz is a huge Atmos guy. He taught me a lot about Atmos, so shout out to that. But one quick thing before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Bainz for not just stuff he does in the studio, but stuff he does out of the studio. Every single time I call Bainz, he's in the gym. He's like, bro, I'm hitting a workout real quick and I'm gonna head right back to the studio. He'll be like, dude, I'm in Atlanta in the gym, but I'm literally about to head right back to the studio. Dude, I'm in like Thailand, but I'm in the gym real quick. Like, that's why I could answer right now. And I'm literally the couple minutes he has. So he's not only the hardest month I know in the studio, he also gets it outside the studio. So it's, you know, mind, body, spirit, all that. That's super important. So big shout out.
Thanks for joining us, Bainz.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you guys for having me. It's
Absolutely
a dope crew to be a part of over here.
Faders of the Lost Art, baby.
Gang. Yeah, man. So what rap sessions could take you to the next level as far as experience wise? What are some of like the most trying rap sessions? Fareed, you can put input on this. Bob, I know you've done a lot of crazy sessions. What are some of those sessions that like make it trying, that it's like, man, fuck this, but at the same time you're glad I did that because now I know how to deal with all of the fuck people?
Dude, that's how I got my career. When I started, that was a gift. Being able to be a staff engineer, I came up at Soundtrack Recording Studios in New York. Being able to be a staff engineer who, anytime I was put on a session to engineer, it was some hip hop artist who didn't give a fuck who the engineer was. I was yo engineer. Perfect. That gave me a chance to learn and grow and get my chops together and be in an environment where I could get better without anybody really caring if I did a great job or not. And that, man, that was fantastic. Right. And that just built me up into the next level.
Absolutely.
I feel like anyone of us that period engineer wise that started more than like 10, 12 years ago, especially in the big studios, was kind of pre-warned. Like, this is what it's like. You're going to take some shit. You're going to take some abuse. You got to do this. You got to do that. And we all said, yeah, sure. Just let me in there, you know? Yeah. So I think it's just kind of a rite of passage. It used to be where you got to go through those trials and earn your stripes, you know?
Pay your dues, man.
Yeah, but I tell a lot of people there's nothing glamorous about engineering.
That's the truth. And it still is kind of that way. It's like, to get in, you do got to do that free stuff. And you know, there's a lot of people always kind of looking for engineers, and there's a lot of people that are looking for work as engineers. And it's like, man, why don't y'all just get together and help each other with that experience and knock out some of those hours and some of that, you know, monotonous, you know, learning curve stuff. So
when you're young, you don't know what you don't know. And, you know, you really need somebody that you can just watch working for a while. And, you know, that's a great thing about internships and stuff like that. It gives you a chance to grow into your skills without demanding that somebody pay you for your learning. That's what an internship is.
No, and it's priceless, man. I tell everybody that's some of the best advice I got. But I mean, I have so many questions for Bainz, man. Like, I know you got some questions too, Nico, but I was wondering.
Let him rip, man. Let him rip.
Like, bro, what's your background, man? Like, cause
so I grew up in India, and then right out of high school, I went to Australia, and I was in Melbourne for a few years. I went to do a regular college situation, dropped out in less than 3 months, and I was just hanging there for a while, DJing and stuff. And then I was like, yo, let me go to SAE. So I did a brief stint at SAE, and I did really well over there. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I can't, Australia was amazing. Melbourne is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to in my life.
Right.
And if I just wanted to chill on the beach and stuff, I would have lived there. But once I got that itch to do music, I was like, okay, I got to come to the States. And Full Sail was my way in. So I got to Full Sail, and again, I did really well over there. Graduated with a 4.0, was valedictorian, and
Man.
straight out of Full Sail, I moved to New York City. Worked at 2 studios. I was at the studio called Dubway. They're still around. Great indie rock studio. They had like 5 or 6 rooms. They've moved now, but it was a great place, man. Recording bands every day, doing
Sick.
shows, a bunch of session musicians, and it was really cool. And at the same time, I think 3 or 4 months in, I started working at another studio called Blast Off, which was in Midtown, right next to Quad, and that's where I was doing a lot more hip hop and R&B, and a lot of big songwriters were coming in. And that's really where I got my Pro Tools chops up. Like the other space, I like really learned engineering. Obviously, I went to Full Sense, I learned it, but that's where like the
The
technical side
patching
got drilled
and
up.
the DIs
You
and
know,
all the groundwork.
yeah,
Right.
consoles,
Yeah.
go-gos, setting up Q mixes for like recording bands. I was doing that
Sick.
in the day, and then doing hip hop at night, and that's where I got really fast at Pro Tools. And I think a couple of months in, I realized that there was a lot more work at the other spot, the night spot, because it was longer hours. You get paid by the hour.
Right.
And it was stuff that I was gravitating towards. I was getting better at that, faster at that. And a couple of months in, I was recording Wiz Khalifa, Lupe, Kid Cudi, just a bunch of, big rappers at the time. This is like a year out of audio school.
Right.
And
You
I
went to New
think,
York, man. That's the Mecca, you know?
yeah. Back then, that's
Right.
when New York was at a weird point, because Sony had shut down, Unique had shut down, but these smaller boutique studios were thriving.
Still, yeah,
'Cause,
Quad was still there.
Quad was still there,
Yeah.
and really, I was doing that for less than a year, and I was like, man, fuck these people. They're barely paying me anything. They're working me so hard. I met a couple of guys. I was like, let's set up our own studio. So we set up a little studio in Soho, and 6 months in, we needed to expand. We set up 2 more rooms, and then a year in, we were like, okay, we got a second location where we put a Neve 5116 in, had a piano over there. Like we wanted to actually do bands as well, and it was 4 rooms. Did that for a good 6-7 years, and gradually, all of my friends, who my clients, once they started getting hit records, they were like, all right, let's move to LA. Let's move to LA, because it was a thing to do. The big migration was happening.
Right.
So I followed suit. In 2016, I moved to LA, and in 2017, I started working with Thug.
Amazing.
I was working with him at a bunch of different studios: Paramount, Record Plant, Windmark, and gradually we just kept having to leave these places, because after 2-3 days, they had other sessions, they had other stuff booked out, and these guys never wanted to leave a studio. They don't want to go to a
Right.
hotel. They
Right.
just lived at the studio, and his manager one day was like, yo, don't y'all have a studio? And I was like, yeah. So they came here, and they realized we had 6 rooms over here. All of the artists could get before, these studios, we would have 1 room, maybe 2 room, maybe we'd set up in the live room as well, or whatever,
Right.
with a small rig, because there were so many artists.
Right.
They were like, oh, this artist could have his own room, the producer could have his own room, and no one's ever going to tell them to leave. So we really set up, like, I think the studio business, and I tell a lot of the people, the staff that comes through, is we're in the hospitality business.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you have to be technical, you got to know your chops and all, but you really, this is like, it's like a hotel. Like, these guys were doing their laundry, getting their food, doing all of that stuff while they never needed to leave. So after a
Right.
while, they were like, oh, we can just do a studio. We don't need to book all these hotels as well. We turned the live room into a bedroom, and for 4 or 5 years, we never left the studio. They were here
Amazing,
every
man.
day. And
I can't imagine how much work you guys cranked out.
Super smart.
Right.
yeah, I started as his engineer, and I gradually, at some point, they were like, oh, this guy should mix as well, because a lot of times the records went to get mixed, and then they would just go with the roughs,
Right.
which weren't really roughs. They were like the end of
Rough.
session bounces. Like once he's done, he moves so quick. Like,
Facts, yeah.
once he's done, he doesn't want to hear it. It's an offline bounce, and I have very little time to really
Do
just clean
edits
it
and
up.
tweaks and
Yeah, so a lot of records that are out, they actually make me cringe, because they're that. But he liked it, and they did.
Right.
Went on to be on #1 album. So whatever, man.
Hey, that
But
means the recording's good, man. That
yeah,
means,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the what really helped is my room. This room is like 2 doors down from his room. So when he's not recording and it's a party in there, I could come here and work. and the minute he needs me, I just run back over. That's what let me function at a high level as a recording engineer and mix at the same time. And because it was a whole label, I started getting everyone's projects, and it was cool. And like these guys had a sound, so I like kind of just went with that, and that kind of became my sound. And now whenever anyone else wants that, they come to me, and it's I've just constantly just been working on it, and
Amazing.
Buying more gear, doing more shit.
Nah, bro, I love it, man.
Do you have a musical background? I love the fact that you know how to record bands and you can mix hip hop. That's great.
Yeah, I don't actually. I don't. I think DJing was like the closest I ever got. I was always the guy that loved music and did music, but could never do it myself. And I was like, fuck it, if I can't be a rock star, let me just work with them.
Yeah, nice.
I know that.
Super dope, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite genre that you work on, or is it just?
I would have to say hip hop. But off late, I've been doing
hip-hop.
a bunch of R&B as well. I've been working with Mario. Did a bunch of records with him. And this other artist, Mariah the Scientist, name is. She's done some really cool stuff. We've got a couple of cool joints coming out. One with Chris Brown and T Grizzly. One with her and A Boogie that I just got done working on. And yeah, but I think hip hop just comes to me naturally. I move a lot quicker.
Right.
It is also a lot easier. There's a lot less going on. I don't know if it's easier or not. It's just something that it's
fewer decisions.
Easier. Exactly.
Have you moved exclusively into mixing, or do you still enjoy engineering?
I hate engineering. I hate it. I haven't recorded in over a year now.
Yeah.
I will have to go back to it once Thug gets out. But till then, even then I was like at the start of this year, last year, sorry, January, I'd started phasing out. I had someone else that was doing it, and anytime it was a big session or like when we were working on Metro's album, he would call me in. But I still get the sessions right after, and I would clean them up and make sure it's cool. Because it's a shame though, because it's something that I'm really good at.
Right.
But it just makes me feel it kills my soul to record, and I just don't want to do it anymore.
After a while you get burnt, man.
Yeah,
after a while. I think there's a cool interview with Phil Tan, and he was talking about like how he transitioned into mixing. He was like he was recording for 7 years, and like, at the 7-year mark, he was just like,
dude, the day Thug got arrested, like that week, everyone hit me up to engineer for them. All his friends, everyone that knew me who was in the rooms with us, and these are like some of the biggest artists out there. And I was like, I've already done that. I've already recorded all of them, and I really didn't want to be looked at as a recording engineer, as a tracking engineer anymore. I wanted to be looked at as a mixer, and you can't do both. Like I could do it in this camp, but they're not going to look at you like a mixer if you're still tracking in those rooms. And right. I needed to make that distinction. And a lot of my friends are doing that now. Tizio as well. He stopped recording. Chris Brown. Right. I want to say in October maybe.
It's hard to do both. It's hard to do both.
But what we're doing is we're putting in people that we know and we trust in those positions. So my old assistant who's an engineer for us, who's worked through the YSL stuff. He recorded Gunna on Drip Too Hard and a bunch of stuff. He's a really fast engineer, and I was like, yo, this guy'd be perfect. So Tizio put him into place, and then literally every day when he's done, he goes to his house, he drops off the drive, they dumps the songs and stuff. So he still maintains control, and that's the thing. You kind of want to make sure you don't lose your position of, I won't say position of power, but your position within the camp.
Right.
And you don't want them to feel like you just don't give a fuck. It's like it's the evolution. It's the next step.
For sure. Yeah, you lead by example too,
And also you take that responsibility, you're the chief engineer, you're the head of, let's say the audio department for the label, or for the camp, so it's showing face. It's more than, like you said, it's more than...
It wasn't even engineering. At some point a few years ago, he was like, yo, I need you to come with me on every show. So I was like going there, getting the track list, being there at with the playback guy, And then the minute the show started, I would cut through and go to front of house. And we had a front of house mixer, but I would just be there with him,
Right, you're
telling
kind of
him,
like
you know,
executive producing,
like the musical director or
right,
some, that's
Right.
and same thing when we're at SNL, or any like televised show that we do, I would do that. Or if we say we did Tiny Desk, like they
right.
usually mix their own stuff, and Thug's like, hell no, this guy's doing my stuff.
I
So
love
like
it.
all of those kind of things, he put me in a position because not because he like wanted me to do good, it was because he trusted me and he wanted his shit to sound good or
Of
whatever. And
course.
in turn, he put me in a position to win.
You're part of his signature. You're
Right.
part of his sound at that point, you know.
Yeah.
And for our viewers watching, like, like pay attention to the progression. Like, this is a cool example of how your engineering career can progress, you know. And it's not just track. You know, you go from tracking. I mean, you go from the assisting and the interning, and you go to the tracking, and then you know you go to mixing, and then you go to traveling to different shows and being part of the production and stuff, you know. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Putting the set list together, getting the
Right.
show ideas together, sitting with the management team, putting albums together, deciding what songs go on off. I mean, for this last project that I'm working on, which is Lil Keed's album, it comes out in a month. On the 16th of March, it's my first posthumous album, and I've mixed his past few albums. He's a really good friend of mine. I'm
Lil
damn near
Keed's dope, man.
A&Ring the project. I'm calling up all of my artist friends to get features, like stuff that the label would
Sick.
do or the management
Oh,
would do, or
that's
random
gotta
stuff.
be dope, man.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
like
next evolution for you.
and it's coming through. Like I literally, I hit up Nav the other day, and I was like, "Yo, bro, can you get on this song?" And he's like, "Absolutely." Same thing with a bunch of other people. I've like hit them up, like, "Yo, can you do it?" And like also, if I don't have a personal relationship with the artist, for damn sure have a personal relationship with all of the big artist engineers, because we're all cool. Like I
True.
was talking to Fabian about this during Grammy week, and he was like, "I've noticed this with your generation. You guys big up each other a lot. You guys put each other on. You guys like really do that." And that they didn't do that. They were
sure.
a lot more cutthroat. They were at each other's throat. And I think
For sure.
there's so much work right now. There's a lot of work to go around that we can do that. We can support each other. We can, share. I don't want to say secrets, but little like
Tips
workflow
and,
things
like,
that
yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
little tips and stuff, and without feeling threatened or whatever.
For sure.
I know I'm good. I've cemented my place, and I'll always be good. And if I can help someone else out and just be a cool person.
Yeah, no, totally, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, of all people, Tony Maserati helped me a lot coming up. He he put me on sessions. I assisted for him at first, and then I ended up co-mixing with him a few years later. We had the same management for a while. It's like you just never know. You do great work for somebody early on as an assistant, and then years later you're mixing big records with them.
Absolutely.
Like that's more of the evolution, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I never had that. I wish I had like someone like someone big that I could come up under. The guy I came up under at Blastoff, he doesn't even engineer anymore. He quit engineering. He's a vet now. But shout out to him. He was just like, "Fuck this, I'm getting
Yeah,
out
shout
of
out to
it."
the real ones,
He
man.
wants to make
There's
some real
always-
money.
You gotta know when to get in and know when to get out.
Yeah, but I've heard great things about Tony like that, because Castelli came up under him, and Castelli is really good with sharing knowledge and stuff, and I really look up to him. I really like his work, and he came through that camp as well. So that's dope. I wish I had that. But I mean, I don't want to say self-taught. I obviously went to Full Sail, and I learned a lot on the job, but watched a bunch of Pensado videos and then like just figured shit out on my own.
Super dope.
And it all goes back to that trust. Like all these opportunities they come from that trust that you build, that trust that's not just, you don't just get hired and like given all this responsibility. You kind of have to earn it. You got to earn that trust, earn that responsibility. And something that Dave always said was, once you master one thing, people will trust you to do other things because you are a master of what you do. So I think that's very important. Definitely. Obviously gaining trust and being able to earn that trust and show, yourself in trying times, but also mastering your skill, whatever that skill may be, so well that you just know your shit and people come to you because you're pretty astute and you know your shit.
Right.
So
Build confidence that way, right?
exactly.
Speaking of confidence, Bainz, like how have you adjusted, or did you have to adjust to any of the press? And like I see you everywhere, man, and congrats too on all the publicity and stuff.
Yeah, man.
Have you had to adjust to like being in the limelight, or like
Dude,
doing
I don't know.
commercials and
I don't know how it happened, man. People like the thing is, I have a problem saying no to stuff. I don't know. I'm like too nice to say no to people, and people just ask me to do shit, and I'm like, yeah, sure.
Like
It's I don't
podcasts
have.
and stuff.
right. Like,
Yeah, I don't have a manager. I don't have. Right, exactly. You know what I mean? I've got 5 mixes due today, but here I am talking to you guys, which is cool.
no, we appreciate it, man.
I love doing stuff like this. I love doing it. And like initially I always thought that I have a lot more to do before I can start talking about it. I've always felt like that. I still feel like that. I have this complex. And a lot of people like, dude, you've done enough good stuff and people want to hear it. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's like I like, you know, whatever. It's like I said, I have a problem saying no when people ask me to do stuff, and I'm like, sure, you know.
That's dope.
And I get to talk to cool people along the process, and I get to hang out with guys like you, and learn a bunch of cool stuff and like doing it as well.
Yeah, man. I saw you also. You took a break from.
I did.
I saw that, man. Hats off, man.
I wanted to bring that up. Sober October. I've seen a lot of people this year doing Sober October, whatever, quit smoking weed for a month. Like I'm talking a lot. So shout out to you. Hats off to you. How's it working?
It kind of just happened, and then I was like, okay, cool. I gotta network. It's Grammy week, so let me push it 1 week back. And it started happening. But when I went a day without smoking, I was like, oh, it's been a day. Let me see how long I could go. Like it was just if I said I'm quitting, I would fuck up. Like it wouldn't work. So I had to trick myself, and then it was a month yesterday. Also, I haven't had my assistant since like October. He messed his back up and he's had to have spinal surgery. He's got slip disc. I worked him too hard, and I think because I've got so much workload. Yeah, he's the man. Hopefully he's back soon. But because I have so much workload, I was like, yo, let me like I don't want to. I was a very high functional stoner, and I smoked every day for all my life. Right. So I tricked myself into thinking that I was good, that it made me better.
Right.
But now that I'm actually clear-headed, I'm realizing that, you know, oh shit, totally. I'm way faster now. Like I actually work a lot faster. I'm remembering things better. I'm a lot more clear-headed. So let's see how long it lasts, man. I don't want to preach about all this and then you guys see me smoking tomorrow.
No. I mean, but even how long has it been?
It's been a month yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. That's enough to celebrate over. Already.
That's more than enough. Yeah, you're good. Yeah. Either way, you're winning. We're all winners.
Yeah, I gave up alcohol in January. That was fucking. Actually, it was really easy. It was just like you said. It was one day, and you're just like, I can do this 2, 3, 10, 20, 30. Oh, maybe I'll do another day.
And then I did that last year for a while, and then I realized I didn't drink for a couple of months, and I was like getting too high, and then I would go out and in social settings, I was like, I don't know, I'm just awkward and quiet, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just drink again, and it's not like crazy drinking, but just a couple of drinks because just to have a conversation,
ease the nerves a little and stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like I can't work at all when I drink. I can work pretty well when I'm high, but drinking buzzes my decision making right up.
I agree.
I think engineers have addictive personalities in general, and there's so many vices, out there.
There you go.
For sure.
That's what I said, and I always say, as you get older, if you can't change your addictive personality, you just got to get better addictions or healthier addictions. That's what like working out is for me and stuff like that.
I think we're addicted to work.
Yeah.
Super.
I'm addicted to being in the studio and making records.
I gotta get addicted to push-ups. To get addicted to.
Same, man. Same.
I've got like a smart gym. It's called Tonal, and like it's again, I'm a nerd, so it's like super geeky. Like I love it. It just measures everything. It tells you everything. You don't have to think. You just do what it says.
Right? Like it goes
exactly.
Up right against the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. So I got one of those, and I'm just trying to make sure I get that in every day.
That's so
nice,
dope, man.
That's great.
So if any of y'all seen any recent pictures of Bainz' studio, he has probably more speakers up than all of us put together. And probably all of you guys.
And better.
And way better. And I've been there. Trust me. Believe me, it sounds amazing in there.
So we got
what? Talk to me.
Okay, we got the Oceanway HR 3.5s. I've had them for a few years. They're really good, and they're sitting on top of the Oceanway 12-inch sub. A pair of them.
So those are the mains.
Those are the mains. They make the room shake. They're when the artist needs to, give you the Asperger feeling without it being Asperger's. And I say that with a grain of salt because Bob, your room are the best Asperger's I've heard. But
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh yeah.
being a tracking engineer for years, Asperger's have like cost me a lot of my hearing. So I don't have a you know, I'm just not gonna say anything more about
It's a
that.
love hate. It's a love
Wait,
hate.
what- what'd you say?
I feel you.
What'd you say?
Right.
It's a love hate relationship.
And then I got the Amphion 118s, also really good. And the latest edition are the PMC 82s, and I absolutely love them. I'm moving way quicker, making decisions way faster, and the decisions are translating way better because of the PMCs.
Now, did you get those with the 8.2 sub or just the tops?
No, just the tops. I got the 6.2s and I had them for a month. Really cool. I love the 6.2s, super detailed, a lot of clarity. I just loved them, but I needed a little more oomph, and that's why I went to the 8.2s, and I just absolutely love them. It's perfect.
You have any sub under them?
Not with the PMCs. I can use the Oceanway subs with them if I need to because it's on the Avocet.
Right, but they generate enough to be accurate.
Exactly. Yeah. They move enough air, and then I can always go to the Oceanways and see, you know, how the room shakes. It's more about how the room shakes, and then I know, okay, I'm at a good spot. I had barefoots before this that I just inherited from one of the other rooms, and because I didn't want to spend money on speakers, I used them for a good year or two. And then it wasn't until I got the PMCs I was like, oh wow, it was like a veil was lifted. But the barefoots definitely had a lot of power and energy, and that's why the 6.2s weren't cutting it for me. So I hit up the president, Maurice from PMC is the president, and he's like, I have a pretty cool relationship with him as well. And he was like, don't worry, we'll get you sorted out. So they came in and they set these up, and I'm loving them. I'm like, now I feel like the PM, what's your PMCs? You're part of the cool kids club.
And there's something, I definitely think there's something about having an 8-inch woofer and the energy, obviously bigger the better. But what's the tuning like on those PMCs? Do you have, you know, kind of all sorts of tuning capabilities?
Yeah, I mean, they have, you can do whatever you want. They have it connects Ethernet to your computer, and you can really just do whatever you want. I had a couple of moves I had made, and then I was working on a project with Tizio, and he came here and he was like, just have it flat because it wasn't translating like the same way to his 6s. And then I realized that, okay, yeah, cool, because that's something that they did when they came here. And I like it flat. I've tried a couple of different. I've tried a couple of different things, but my room doesn't need it. My room sounds pretty. Surprisingly, it sounds really good. I even had, when I got the Oceanways in, Alan Sides came over here. I was like, yo, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do that? And he said, sometimes you have a bunch of things that shouldn't work, but the math just adds up and it works. And he was like, just let it be. It sounds perfect in here. You don't need to add anything. And I was like, yo, but let's do this or that. Put a bass drive here. And he was like, dude, trust me, you don't need anything. It sounds perfect. I was like, all right, cool. It came from Alan Sides. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Use your ears, man. People forget I forget all the time to use my ears and the McGurk effect, and we always get distracted by shiny lights, you know, shiny objects. But man, just don't forget to close your eyes and use your ears.
Dude, how many times have you like put something in mono and then you're mixing and you forget that it's still in mono, and or something like that, where you're using your eyes, or you do a frequency and you realize, oh, that one band has been bypassed this whole time, but you're tricking your mind into like, oh, I'm hearing that dip, but you really weren't, you know,
tweaking the plug-in on the wrong channel. Yeah,
I heard a mix the other day, and I was like, yo, the vocal sounds so bad. It sounds like someone was sweeping the frequency and then left it in solo. And the record came out that way. I was like, yo.
The resonant frequency.
Yeah, it was just so pokey. It's just so pokey. It was like piercing me in the fucking ears.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Literally, probably what happened. They just forgot it in solo.
They just thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Man, you know, I mean, I've been working with some producers recently, and you know, I've just been told that, you know, it's crazy. Like some records that are released and that are getting played in the club, like just killing the club, are like stuff that's just like recorded on a laptop and just put out, like, you know, and it's not even mixed. And you know, I hear it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm like, I could do this, I could do that, like clean this up,
So
you know, but it still goes in the club, you know.
I had a
crazy.
conversation with a few people recently about that, and that's cool, and that does make money. That is definitely an avenue, don't get me wrong. And obviously there's a huge like ability to build a fan base, etc. But that kind of music doesn't have longevity.
Right. No, and the same. So with the same in the same conversation, we brought up the fact that really good mixed records, pop off easier or get placed easier, or you know, just hit faster. I don't know if you guys agree. I think that's been the case. I don't know. What you guys think?
I think it, as long as the mix gives the record a great vibe, because I think
Complements it.
every big shootout I've ever won, the other engineers had cleaner mixes and mine felt better. And
There it is.
to me, it's always about vibe. If you can capture the essence of what that record is, it can sound like shit. As long as it makes you feel the way that you're supposed to feel, that's what's happening. But a lot of times, like you're saying, Fareed, they just put the shit out because they don't have any technical chops to make it better,
Right.
where, you know, spend a little
Right.
bit of extra time or money, but just make sure that that feel and that vibe is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, or sometimes, like you said, the vibe changes after the mix, and they're like, "Oh no, we want the 2-track." You get the, I guess, what demoitis
Happens
Mhm.
happens to everybody. And
Yep.
like I always
Yeah.
include all revisions in my rate so that my clients always know walking in that where I'm just going to revise until they love it. So
Bro, I'm the same, man, because I feel
yeah,
like
there's no doubt. It just puts everybody at such ease. You know, you're like, you can try shit and it can be totally off the mark. And, you know, and you can tell them like, look, I tried some shit. You may or may not love it. Let's find out. If you don't, it's really easy for me to change and do something else. So, you know,
You guys ever do like 2 versions? Be like, okay, this is the version closer to what you were looking for, and this one I just went off the edge with.
Absolutely. or like if I do a major edit or something tricky, I'll try to either save the session or save a playlist where it's like, and I'll give them in the email. I'll be like, hey, I did this, but I can flip back in 10 seconds if you hate it, but just check it out. You know?
It's kind of cool, right? Let me know what you think.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So yeah,
man, 'cause we need
definitely
some creativity.
Giving them that option of going back, like, but not too many options at first. Not like, here's 2 records, and then let me know what you think. It's kind of like, hey, here's this record, let me know what you think. That's kind of my take on it.
Right.
I've actually been dabbling a little bit in mastering some of the projects that, you know, can't afford the top guys mastering. I'll help them out and, you know, take care of that mastering stuff. And I've been mastering a lot of records. And with that, I'm learning new stuff. And certain clients, of course, you have that. So you kind of learn your clients, right? It depends on the client. Certain clients, you're like, hey, I'm gonna try something new. Let me know what you think. Right? I wouldn't go with a brand new client.
Right.
Where that trust comes in.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, the more your clients trust you, the more strange you can get, and the more they are willing to hear your ideas. You know.
Totally.
So Nico, technical question about mastering your own mix. Do you feel, because I'm starting, so I occasionally do that too, and I'm starting to have this theory where bouncing my mix out and putting that 2-track in its own session and mastering that is better. I get better results rather than trying to make my master mix fader the mastering.
Yeah, I've never done that. I've actually never tried to master my mix because I'm really good at fucking up my mixes. So once I get something I like, I'm like, dude, don't touch it. I'll you know, save it up like you said, and I'll know that no matter what, I can go back to that mix and be 99% happy with what's going on. But yeah, I try to never mess with that. So in the beginning stages, I was using a lot of Aria. Even back in the day, I was using Lander for you know, those kind of clients. And again, it was like what we had. But I was like, one day I was like, you know what, let me try and beat it. I think I can maybe do better. And that just kind of snowballed into that. And it's
so dope.
Starting with that, it always started with, I already sent this track out as a 2-track. So let me try and beat that with the same equipment they're trying to. You know what I mean? That was kind of the
You mean after you get it back, like from an Aria or a Lander or something, after you get it back and you
I was like, man, I wish this is before.
That's a good way to learn.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is before Aria had the knob where you could add high end. I was like, I wish I'd just get a little bit more high end out of it. So I was like, let me see if I can compete with this and then just add a little bit more high end. And somehow it worked. The client loved it. And I was like, well, okay, put it out. Everybody else loved it. So I was like, okay, we kind of got something going here. And that was kind of my introduction to mastering, was out of need. I just needed to beat the robot, you know, and it was just like, okay.
I'd deliver my mixes mastered. And once they get approved, I just remove the final limiter and any kind of added volume stuff that was just that I added just to get it up to final volume. But I want my clients to know what exactly it's going to sound like on the radio. Like,
but is your mastering in your mix session, or do you pull it out and put it? It is okay. So that's how I've always.
Every time. If I have to actually master an album, I'll do it that way, Bob. I'll put it in a separate session because I think there's too much processing going on within the session, and I do need to instead of fixing it in the master, I would end up going and changing something in the mix. And
it's kind of cool,
You just have to
see the 2-track, right? Yeah, I see.
Yeah, and then also to be able to jump between the songs, because that's what really you want to make sure that everything kind of sounds like it's when you're doing a project, you want to make sure it all sounds cohesive.
Right.
Like, I don't personally like doing it. I do it out of necessity when there's no budget to get someone else. And what I don't like dealing with final deliverables, and I don't like dealing with final delivery and ISRC codes. And what if they want to go to vinyl then? And what if they we do cassettes now, like as it's really just merch, but I've had to do all this, and the labels hitting me with all these questions. I'm like, I'm not doing this, man. Can we just use Sterling, please?
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, with that being said, there also is, Bob, another added bonus to mastering in a separate session, and like Bainz said, he hit the nail on the head, is the speed. I don't have to wait for my whole session to load. I load mastering sessions literally in 5.5 seconds. So
I've just noted my tuba keeps just so heavy with processing and delay when I try to do it in the mix, and it's like I got low end focus and ozone and this and that, and it's just like I just start to feel guilty. Like, why don't I just get the mix done as the mix and then just put it in another little session? It adds time a little bit, but I feel like processing wise, at least the way I'm doing it, so
I'm always more is better. So I'm doing what you're doing, and I'm mastering on top. So when I master, also part of it started when I started hearing my mixes on the radio, and I called the artist like, hey, did you guys happen to master this? And they're like, no, we didn't know we were supposed to. I thought it sounded done, So of course I turn in all my mixes, quote unquote, mastered at master level, radio level, etc. But when I do my own mixes, I do very, very little, just a little bit, like, give it just a little bit of steroids, not a lot of steroids, just a little bit of steroids, a little bit of sheen.
I just put God Particle on to 200%.
There you go.
Plug-in is,
and all you got to do is tweak the input, and you're killing it. To be honest, I've been hearing them say God Particle mastered it, this, that, and the other. I was like, you know what? Recently, I was like, that's a good idea. I'm gonna try to put that in my mastering chain, and that's actually bringing it all full circle. That's when I started sending some of my clients 2 versions. When I started putting God Particle in the chain, I was like, I'm not sure. I already got my chain pretty locked in tight. I know what I'm doing. I know what it sounds like. I know how it comes out on the other end. And now I'm adding God Particle, which has a sound and it has a tone and it has an imprint. I don't know if this is going to fly within my chain. I wasn't, starting a whole nother master. I was kind of just adding it into my mastering chain. And let's just say I got some more work to do to add that one in. My chain was doing just
what are some of your guys' favorite master bus plugins? Like, what always ends up on the mix bus?
Limitless by DMG for me.
I would say Invisible Limiter. Invisible Limiter.
AOM.
That's a good one.
Limit. Whenever I need something to be like excessively loud, I'll go to Limitless, but it does do a bit too much.
Shout out Keith Ross. He's always bigging up AOM Invisible.
Yeah. That one's really cool.
I live in dumb loud, so that's why Limitless lives on my
for
stereo
sure.
bus.
yeah, it's definitely doing some crazy stuff and pushing stuff. You
Yeah.
know, whenever I need to like beat people's mixes like loudness wise, I'm like, okay, cool, that's the easy quick one. I like the Acoustica Ash. It's been really cool. I
Oh
was gonna
man,
say,
I was
Yeah.
dying to try Ash, bro.
yeah, it's insane. I was
Yeah,
in
it's
London
cool.
a couple of months ago and I met this guy MSM, really nerdy, smart guy too. And something he did which was really cool, and I haven't seen anyone else do. He's like, when he's done with his mix, he has 3 prints happening through 3 different converters. So he has the links, he has the Lavery, and he has a Neve master bus processor, I think. And he lets the client pick which one that sounds the best. And that I was like, oh, that's excessive, but it's fucking cool to have like
That's pretty cool.
three
Wow.
co- 3 converters. And like he was like, he always mixes through the links because that's the most transparent one, and then just has 3 prints happening simultaneously and just ABs between them at
I
the
wonder
end.
if the clients can't hear it sometimes. I wonder if they're just like
Nah, he said 9 out of 10 times they end up picking the Lavery.
sick.
Wow.
Yo, Lavery got
Do you
some
have
special
any
too.
do you have any tips or tricks that you use on the Ash? Any hit it this way or hit it soft or hit it hard? Anything that
I
you
started
found?
with soft,
Whoa.
but I've been going hard now. Pause.
Okay.
And it works out. It's been working pretty cool, and that's the last thing on. So I have this is how I have a through track that has a bunch of plugins. Like it's usually the Ash, the backs in MS, an Ozone over there doing a little bit of widening and stuff, and that's the last thing that goes to an audio track, and then that audio track has a limiter, maybe 2 limiters on it, and that goes to another audio track. So I have
Oh,
in one pass, I print my mix and my 4 master because I am hybrid. I do have recalls and stuff. Once I'm done, I don't have to go back. And then I always send Joe, who's usually my mastering engineer, I send him screenshots of what I had on my mastering on the limiter, so he can match it and then beat it.
Fire.
What's
And I feel
Fire.
what's some of your hybrid analog stuff? Like, what are you incorporating?
so I run everything. I have a Blacklion modded HDIO. It runs through a Neve 5059 summing mixer. Then it hits a Fusion that's only doing a little bit of the width stuff and some of the high frequency compressor, just taming some top end. Then it hits the DW Fern VT5. It's got 8 tubes in it, and it just sounds insane.
Yeah.
After that, it hits an NG. It's called the NG Bus Comp. It's by Wes Audio, and it's got digital recall. So there's a plugin that just lives anywhere in your session, just controlling that. And then after that, it hits the Portico Master Bus processor. Yeah, processor. MVP, which has a limiter, but it's got the silk circuit in it that sounds really cool as well.
Hell
Usually
yeah.
end up using the blue silk more often than not. And then it comes back in through the Burl Bomber. And I do have a Flock Audio patch bay, and that just makes life so much easier. Like
I see
I
that
use
bad boy.
I'm
Yo.
looking into those.
yeah, I use hardware the way I would use plugins. Like I could like throw a compressor in there. If it doesn't work, I could throw another one. I could change the order. I could bypass it by like literally the way you would bypass a plugin. It just makes all the hardware I have a lot more usable. So I actually end up
That's a
using it a
digital
lot more.
patch bay, right?
It is. It's a digital patch bay. So
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's a
tell
sorry, go
people
ahead.
that don't know what that Flock Audio thing is.
So
So
it's a regular patch bay. It's got D subs at the back. It works the way a normal patch bay would work, but there's just a software that lives in your computer, and I have presets. So like my whole mix bus, I press a button, and all of those things I just spoke about, they show up. But now what that lets me do is I have this $12,000 tube EQ, and if I want to use it in the mix really quick, I could just drag it over, dial some shit in, commit it, and then put it back to the mix bus. So I can use things more than once, and I couldn't do that before. There's just way too much patching. I don't have time to do all of that shit. And I could rearrange things. I could like I've got these Hazelrig VLC channel strips that I've been using a lot, and sometimes because the tubes they like sometimes it needs a little something else after that. So I have the Clairephonics by Kush Audio, and I would just throw
Oh, I
that on
love that
there.
thing.
Like that brings whatever like the tubes take away, but tubes do a lot of other good stuff. It just brings it back. But
Right.
like I wouldn't have thought to do that if I didn't have the flock. I would just have left it at that. And then
making
now
it
I'm like,
easy.
maybe it needs something else. It's like I get a lot of really badly recorded stuff, unfortunately. So I can like just throw everything at it and see what works.
Yeah, that Flox is next level, and just a little bit of gear you got there, just a little bit in that hybrid.
Yeah.
Nothing big.
There's a whole other rack this other side as well.
So the
Exactly.
DW Fern is the DW Fern is a stereo Pultec with one set of knobs, right? Is that how it
Exactly.
works?
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
it's amazing.
one side notes. Yeah. I went to I was at Goodwin's studio the other day and he had the Muse EQ and I was like, why can't they just link it? These are too many knobs for the same thing. And he was like, yo, that's the only hard thing about engineering recalls. So just suck it up and do it. And I was like, yep, you're right.
That fusion
consuming.
width is pretty amazing. I heard that before. I don't have one, but that fusion stereo width is really nice.
It's nice. I kind of like I have it set a certain way and I usually mix into it. And then if a record needs a little more, I'll like tweak it a bit. But there's a couple of changes. Mostly I'm like, with the Fern, I'm doing like usually a 10 dB cut at 28K. And that just, kind of shapes things in. And then sometimes I very rarely am I using the high boost, but I use a boost at 20 cycles a lot. And that just lifts up the whole bottom, just a kind of smiley face situation.
Right.
Sure.
Nice, man. Dope
yeah.
that you're combining the hybrid, you know what I'm saying?
The Flock really helps, man. I have two of them because they're both 64 channels each. And then the way they connect to each other is one, like you use up one set of IO for them to talk to each other, and then you have sends and returns within the software. And software has gotten really cool now too. They have an iPad app, they have a phone app, so you can you don't have to tie it up on your computer. And I'm big on the SoundFlow and Stream Deck as well. So I have one button that says Let's Mix, and it sequentially opens up the Flock software, the Pro Tools, my session recall software, and like all of this.
That's so badass. Let's mix.
I did that whenever I need someone to come, like one of the assistants or the other, like, because there's a bunch of engineers in the building and I'm not here and I need someone to do it. I like have them press that button and press the other button that lets me remotely control my software. So I've made it easier for other people to come in and
Bro,
just set things up so I can control my computer from wherever I am. And I've mixed records like that using audio movers and
right.
AnyDesk or the other one doesn't work as well, but any TeamViewer, yeah. But AnyDesk is a lot better, and we've done like big records like that, really big records.
I do recalls when I'm traveling that way. Yeah.
Sick.
You just have to have a good assistant that can run the room, and you work like I had to go to Atlanta a lot to travel, but I didn't want to. I hate mixing on a laptop, especially when you get used to all of this stuff. So that was the only way I could still use my gear and work on the road.
That's so dope, man.
Bainz is one of the most technologically advanced, automated, analog incorporated studios engineers I've ever met. Like he was on the Stream Deck way before everybody else. He's on Bounce Factory. He's like crazy because, like I was saying on his intro, thousands of records. I wasn't kidding. Thousands of records. I mean, the workflow is insane.
Anything that can make our life easier, man. I like working smarter, not harder.
Sure.
Bro, so I know
work, you have to.
I've been dying to ask you, man, because I have a little experience with Thug too. I worked with him like back in the like Rich Gang whole era thing. And I was
shit, that's dope. I didn't know that.
Yeah, bro, real long, like a while back, with like Alex. So you know Alex, right? Alex,
of course, yeah.
Dope,
really
man. Yeah, so I was wondering, do you guys are close? Do you guys communicate
very close,
a lot?
Very close. I'm going to his wedding in a month. I spoke to him. I spoke to him 2 days ago. It was there was one clear moment in my career where Alex did something like he passed the torch over.
Right.
And before that, I wouldn't publicly say I'm Thug's engineer. I wouldn't do all of that stuff.
Right.
And he was like, dude, you're in there. You're really in there, and this is your time now. Go ahead. And it was a very gracious, like there was no bad blood or anything. He was super nice, and we're still very close. Like we talk to each other. Like I said, I'm going to his wedding in a month. So I think that was the day that I like it gave me confidence to go ahead and actually like start doing more interviews and talking about it more often, because I didn't do I was working with him for about 3 years and I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't,
Right,
like
right, right.
for the
You just
first
kept
2 years,
it low.
no records came out.
Right.
I was just in there fucking for 2-3 weeks straight living at the studio. No record came out, so no one knew that I was working with him. No one knew who I was, and I was just in there doing it.
Thugging
You
it
know,
out.
yeah, exactly.
Crazy, man. Yeah, shout out to Alex,
Crazy.
man. He's a hard worker.
Yeah,
bro.
big shout out to Alex Tomei.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super kind, super gracious, amazing engineer, man, great individual. And man, just again, just it goes to show you, Bainz is grinding for 3 years without a lick of credibility or shine, before anything. So just keep on grinding, keep your head down, and keep pushing.
Absolutely.
Keep on pushing. That's what I've been saying this year. This year's motto is keep pushing, regardless of what level you're at.
Consistency.
Dude, like there's a lot of people that have technical chops. There's a lot of people that have the year or anything. And I think what separates you, especially in this genre or whatever, is the fucking endurance you have. The endurance you have to take bullshit, to be there, to work without sleep, to do all this crazy shit. It's how well you endure it and how much bullshit you go through sets you up later on. Because I don't do that shit anymore. Fuck
Right.
no. I've set my own schedule. Yeah, I still don't sleep for when I'm working in album mode, but I like that. I thrive in those moments. I love
Right.
I love the stress of oh shit, we gotta deliver all these songs. I know there's new songs coming in right now and all that shit. Like that does it for me.
It's the challenge.
Exactly.
Totally, man.
Well, I always find, people hire you the first time because of your credits, and then they keep hiring you or not because of who you are and how you grind and what you deliver and shit like that. So it always seems to be the credits that get you through the door, but then you gotta, put up or shut up, and the people that can are the ones that are sitting in this room right now and still working.
Credits are important, man. I preach. I tell
So
everybody.
Bainz, how do you deal with 808s versus loudness? Getting a song loud but all that low end.
Great question.
Dude, I don't I'm not one of those Seven Loves kind of person. Like some of my records that people think are like really like good, like Ski, for example. Like Thug made me turn that 808 up even more than I had it. And I think we delivered a 10 maybe.
Dope,
And it
man.
like there's no like you can't get to that number without castrating your bass. And I don't like doing
I'm so happy to hear that, because I mean the streaming services are gonna turn it down anyway. So.
Yeah, I don't filter my low end. I like letting it breathe. I might have a little bit of like I use the Oxford EQ, which a dynamic EQ just shoves it a little bit, but it's never more than a dB. And then I think it's a lot of figuring out, like it's a lot of notes. Like there's like you might like a lot of people will add, and then there's that one note that flubs or makes the speakers fuck up, and they're like, fuck, okay, cool, let me back off and let me find a middle ground. A lot of times what I do is I'll separate that note and treat it separately and push more upper mids in it, so you can still feel it, but it's not the level's a little lower, or it's not doing something else. So I'm able to push all the other notes, and I think that really helps me a lot. Is when you think of it as notes and treat different notes separately.
For sure.
So you'll go down the whole timeline, let's say in Pro Tools, and pull those notes throughout the whole song down to a second track.
To a track right underneath, process that slightly differently. Yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
I do that, and then also, whenever the kick hits, make sure that you're shaving off a little bit of the attack just to let the kick attack pop through. Just automating the trim on the 808 and stuff. Like there's plugins you can do it with. Soothe is pretty good.
Sidechain thing.
Track Spacer is good, but I've found that just doing it manually you get the best result. So I'll loop this. Exactly. That's the Jason thing. That's where I saw it one time and I was like, oh, this really works. I loop a section and just find the exact amount that it is. It's usually a dB, maybe a dB and a half, depending on how aggressive the kick is or how much I've messed with that kick. I've been using my buddy Swivel has this new plugin called Click Boom, and it really helps you like push push stuff on the kick drum. So yeah, that, you know, small things like that. And then I love the Neve Silk Circuit, and that also adds some harmonics to the low end, and then, you know, parallel it with some other stuff as well. And, you know, there you go. But yeah, just getting, like, I spoke to, I know a lot of it is having a good relationship with your mastering engineer. So I've spoken to Joe about it, and I'm like, yo, what do we do on that record? It cuts, it translates well. Let's try to aim for that. And he's also said that, dude, that you can't, like, it's not gonna work if you turn stuff in at 7 dB because at 7 LUFS, because then I have to do that, and then, you know, the sacrifices are going to be made at some point. Now, if it's a pop record or a dance record and something that doesn't have, you know,
too much, yeah,
too much stuff going on below 60, yeah, or even 80, you can get away with it. And I just, you know, like I said, I don't like to filter that or cut that or do any of that stuff. Just let it breathe.
Nice.
And with that, let it breathe. You ultimately are saying your mix is gonna end up being just a little bit lower in volume for the master.
Dynamic.
It is, but it's more dynamic, so the perceived loudness will be more.
Nice.
Super dope, man.
That's a gem right there.
I think those mixes like that end up sounding like you get more sense of depth, or kind of like it's like
I agree. Definitely cleaner, and definitely a little bit more separation from the, you know, each individual element, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
It's hard though. I mean, sorry, what you were saying, Nico?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, because I was gonna say, right, I run into this issue a lot, and you'd get the ref from, say, like the tracking engineer or just the artist, and they're at, you know, their limiter is at -0.1, you know what I'm saying, and it's slamming, you know, it's -7 LUFS.
That's literally what I was gonna say. I was like, a lot of times they're tied. A lot of times they're tied. So I will do that. Like what I was literally about to say, that was the rough that you get determines a lot of stuff you do, because you can't turn some shit in softer than that. They just take your whack, even though it could be better at everything. You can't do that. So
you can't tell them, oh, you know, just turn your speakers up, you know.
Right. Yeah. A lot of times our hands are tied when it comes to stuff like that. So then you just got to deal with it. You have to make these sacrifices. You have to make decisions, and you just have to figure it out, man. That's what we fucking do. Figure shit out.
For sure.
That's right.
For sure.
We get paid the big bucks. Man, let's talk a little bit. I don't want to let you go before we talk about the Dolby stuff. I know you've been killing the Dolby game. You've been doing a ton of work in the Atmos, but I caught a post that you posted about CES and the new Atmos in cars.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Can you shed some light?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dolby invited me out to CES. First off, I saw they invited me for an Imagine Dragons concert in Atmos.
Oh wow!
So the show was in Atmos, and it was insane.
Tell me about that.
It was insane, and not just the fact that there wasn't crazy shit happening behind me and above me and all. It just sounded open. The whole it just sounded open when everything is not hitting that limiter at the end. It just sounded, everything was breathing. The show, all the instruments had their own place. It just sounded, it was the most amazing like concert experience I've ever had. We also had the Dolby's president's box, so I had the best seats in the house, which was really cool. But everywhere we walked around, I walked around a bunch because I wanted to see what it sounded like from different places. They've got it dialed in, man. And they're doing some really cool stuff. So that was awesome. And then the cars are where the future is, because I can't get an artist to sit in a stereo room in the sweet spot for 3 minutes to listen to a song. Like that's like and in Atmos, you really have to sit in the sweet spot. Otherwise, you go slightly off and it's over. And when you're sitting in there, it sounds amazing. It sounds like crazy. It's like it's a crazy experience, like you guys know. But the cars, that's the only place that you can actually get someone to really sit for a while in one spot. And the Maybachs, the new Maybachs, they have this cool thing where you can localize where you're sitting in the car.
I was gonna ask.
And so there's a general mix for everything, and then you can actually go ahead and localize, and it works surprisingly well in that car. It's really
Can you localize per person, so each person gets their own mix, or is it you gotta pick?
Nah, there's one boss.
Yeah.
There's one boss. Now
There's only one boss.
what you can do is you can localize it to the front or the back,
So crazy.
or you can, now the Maybach has it, you can even do individual seats in the car. The EQS, the Mercedes stuff, the other ones, they have it where you can do front or back or just the whole car, and it sounds really good, man. I heard a couple of mixes in there. It's really dope.
Wow.
Dolby also has a prototype Tesla Model X. That they use for, that they've just built as a proof of concept, which is also really cool. And I have a Model X. I was like, yo, can I bring my car in and have you guys set this up in my car?
Yeah.
It sounds insane because the Tesla system sounds really good as it is. But when they did that, I was just blown away. There's some mixes where people really, take advantage of everything that Atmos has to offer. It's really cool. It's been awesome, man. It's been something that I was just thrown into. The label hit me up and they were like, yo, we need to deliver stuff in Atmos. This is before the mandate. This was like, I want to say August of 2021. I went into their offices over here right down the street from us in Burbank, and I got a crash course. And it was a Monday. I started on a Tuesday. I started working on it. It was a record that we did that was produced by Dr. Luke. And Luke was like, yo, you're one of the first few people outside of Serban that's working on my stuff. But he loved the mix. He was super happy with it. And that record came out on Friday. So I had 3 days to figure it out. And the Atmos version came out on Friday. And ever since then, I've been doing everything, every new thing.
Sorry, you did the Atmos off of Serban stems?
No, I did the mix.
Okay.
He said you're the first few people outside of Serban that's done I did the stereo as well. It was my mix. Like he asked, he was like, who usually mixes Thug stuff? And I was like, me. He was like, okay, cool. I don't want to break it. And if let's just do that. And what he really liked was, at some point Thug wanted to get one of his producers to add to the beat, because it didn't have enough, it didn't have what he was used to. And I knew what he was talking about. This is before we even started mixing. So when I got the stems, I went crazy. And the song didn't have a real 808, but I made the kick feel like super heavy. I added so much shit to the kick. Nice. And when Thug heard it, I was like, yo, you still want to have him produce? He said, no, you got it. It's all good. And when Luke heard that he didn't have to split pub with anyone because of me, he was ecstatic. He was like, oh, I love this guy. I want to work with him in the future.
Let's keep him around. I like this.
What are some of your favorite Atmos mixes that you've done for people to check out?
I really like, there's two records in the Machine Gun Kelly album that I did. It's A with Lil Wayne, and it's called Die in California. Those are really cool. All of Thug's last album, Punk. There's a record on Gunna's album called Mop, and really a lot of the YSL back catalog. I've done all of Keed's back stuff, Thug's back stuff. So much fun I did as well. And anything new that I'm working on, we have to do it. Do an Atmos as well. Nice. We did go crazy in Atmos. From that album, we only did Go Crazy. And then we've been doing a bunch of Sony 360 as well. So did Chris's whole album in the 360s, his Chris Brown's last album, and a bunch of Polo G stuff that just came out, Kid Laroi stuff that's coming out later this week. Teaser did the stereo and the Atmos, and I did the 360 for those.
Could you touch on the 360 just a little bit more? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah. So it's just its own format. It's Sony's version of Atmos. Right. So it's another immersive format. What they have is they have speakers on the ground level as well.
Okay.
And Atmos doesn't have that. It's more of a globe. Like, think of Atmos as a box, and Sony 360 is like a globe. And you really only need to deliver 360s for anything that's Sony. Right. So any artist that on RCA, it's just another format. It's not similar to Atmos. It works completely different. Wow. It's a lot more quirkier. It has issues. It was crazy. Last night I was delivering this mix and it just wasn't working. There was a glitch in the software, and I'm calling up Dale Becker like, dude, why is this happening? And he was like, yeah, this shit's happened to me too. He's like, we're trying to problem solve it while working on it together, because it's some. Sorry, go ahead.
The deliverables are completely different from
completely different, bro. It's not normal. It's not normal. It's Yeah, Ken, you're shaking your head, so you know exactly what it's like. It's just a bunch of folders of a bunch of Atmos is one ADM. It's an ADM wave.
Right.
It's
Right.
super easy.
Yeah.
This is not that.
I think for those
Do
that
they have
don't
their
know,
own
the
renderer?
probably the biggest sonic difference in 360 and Atmos is 360 localizes better.
Way better.
And
That's So
Atmos is more spatial, but 360 you can feel that shit moving precisely, and it's really clear. They seem to do it without fucking up the phase in ways that Atmos kind of does.
So do they have their own?
There's no renderer. There's a plugin that lives within Pro Tools.
Okay.
Oh,
it's not a separate renderer. It's within Pro Tools,
wow.
and you have to use another interface. So like the output of Pro Tools is still 8 my HDX, but that means nothing. The plugin outputs to a separate interface, and that's what you monitor through.
Oh wow.
And it's headphones only format.
Oh.
Not necessarily. Like there's
really?
a lot of there's a lot of Blackbird. Blackbird has a 360 room with speakers.
Oh no, I'm not talking about for us. I'm building a 360 room right now. I'm talking about for the consumer. The only thing the consumer can consume 360 on is headphones.
Well, where do you go to hear it? Is it Amazon?
I think Gaming is using it now.
Tidal. I think
Tidal. Okay.
I think Tidal has it, and where else? Maybe Amazon. Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of players about to enter the market soon. In spatial, Dolby is like really pushing it hard.
Sennheiser.
So Alan Meyerson's room has speakers on the floor as well. Is that what it is? Okay, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I actually
have 3 up firing for 360, and you have I think the difference between 916 and 360, you got to add 3 more speakers to do 360.
Yeah, for gaming, it's really cool because he's right. You can localize way better than 360, but it's really quirky, and I don't know how much longer it's gonna last, to be honest.
I wanted to ask, what headphones would you recommend for people who don't have a full-blown Atmos setup but are trying to get into mixing Atmos? What headphones do you think?
The AirPod Maxes, I think, because then you can check what it's going to sound like on spatial. That's the biggest thing, because that's what Apple is going to do. Apple is not going to play a binaural. Apple is going to play a spatial, and the way things are right now, other people will tell you otherwise from different companies, but that's what matters the most, what the spatial sounds like. Eventually, the binaural is going to matter a little more, but the way things are right now, the way the spatial sounds is the most important, in my personal opinion.
Got you. Interesting.
So do you have a discrete speaker setup, or are you mixing on the headphones?
We're setting up the spot that's behind your studio. It's being built right now, so I end up going to other studios to work on stuff. Like I've been using just for the record. They're a great studio, man. They're like one of my favorite new studios in LA. I've also been to Fab Factory and used their room a couple of times. I used to work with Mike Miller. I did a bunch of stuff at his spot. So yeah, just whenever I can get a room.
Gotcha.
So Atmos is definitely here to stay.
For sure. Atmos is here to stay. 360, I don't know. Like, it's not a mandate anymore. It used to be a mandate before.
Depend more on what gaming does with 360 than what music does with 360.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Because music, there's zero demand for 360 in music, but gaming market is dwarfs.
I would say zero demand, but like any like I said, any big artist that's on Columbia, RCA, any of the Sony labels, you're gonna still have to do it.
Right.
And that's what we've been doing. Like Kid Leroy, Polo G, Chris Brown, people like that. And then also, I don't know why, like recently I got asked for a bunch of 360s for someone for YouTube. That I don't know what they needed for, but I was like, okay, cool, sure.
We're gonna end up having to mix this show in 360 just because
can't
handle all this mono.
Different sides.
Well, they can stream Atmos now. I don't think you can. You can stream Atmos to all 12 Atmos speakers in real time. Like I can stream Apple Music. So I think eventually YouTube and stuff like that are going to be able to stream Atmos in real time. That shit is definitely coming.
At the concert, were they using the because I know they have the 360 microphones now. Were they implementing that, or
I don't think so. I don't think so. It was damn, I'm blanking on his name. Really cool guy. He went and tuned the room over there. It's Dolby's. It's called the Dolby Theater. It's at the Park MGM.
Okay.
In Vegas, and they had like a separate Dolby had a bunch of other stuff over there that was crazy. They have not just the music stuff, but they have these kits that they showed us that they send out that they developed during COVID. It's like a little box that you get, and you open it up, and it's got a camera and a mic and everything you need to do like an interview or a podcast or a show or anything, but everything else is controlled by someone at another location. So you don't need to worry about the lighting, setting them like anything. Like the camera can like move, pan, tilt, all of the settings in the camera that someone that doesn't know any of that won't know. So now instead of having to send a whole crew out, they send you these boxes and you just open it up and it's completely self-contained. It has got lighting in it. It's got the camera. It's got like really cool stuff. Then they were showing me this stuff where they have like for shows they have like they create like an avatar version of you of like they had a bunch of that Paul Oakenfold and a bunch of big DJs and people, you wear the similar to Oculus or maybe one of those, and you're in the world and you like a part of the show. It's like super cool and it feels a lot realer than the stuff has felt before. We've done a few of those. Thug did one of these shows for I think it was Meta and Oculus a while back, and the whole thing was filmed on a green screen. And they like make this he was real in this like fake like video game kind of world. And it was super cool. It was like a pretty cool experience. And like this all this stuff started blowing up during COVID. Like we did the Fortnite thing where we were on Fortnite with Diplo. Went to Diplo's house in the middle of COVID and shot against the green screen with him DJing and Thug performing the song that we had done.
Dude, crazy.
And it was on Fortnite. And that's obviously epic. Like since then, Trav has done it, Marshmello has done it, a bunch of people have done it. It's been pretty cool. And it's definitely cool because like I don't like fucking going to shows anymore. Like I do like going to shows, but it's just it's a pain in the ass.
Right.
Yeah, these virtual shows are getting crazier. Those concerts, and Minecraft had a concert, which was pretty insane with 100 Gex and a bunch of other people. It's definitely, I'm excited. So I'm stoked that you got to go out there and bring back some of the new future technologies to share with us. That's super cool.
And fun fact, CES happens the same weekend as AVN.
Oh, so we might have to go out there next year. I know you definitely had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was bouncing back and forth between the two.
Tough decision. I don't know which one I would stick to. But man, what a great time. Bainz, thank you so much for coming. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Each and every one of you guys is insanely talented, incredible. Like I said, accolade endowed. I think that's a new word I'm going to try and use, but man, let's try and wrap this one up. Big thank you to, of course, you guys for showing up. Big thank you to everybody watching.
Thank you, Bainz.
Shout out to some of our sponsors. Hey, gang. Shout out to some of our sponsors, Avid, Cloud Mics. Speaking of which, Ken's guys were setting up and they plugged in they're like, we're gonna plug in the Cloud Mic. Hold on, we're gonna mute real quick. He came back and he sounded, I was like, whoa.
But HD.
Yep, say less. I whipped mine out. I was like, I can't believe I wasn't gonna use it. Boom, plugged it in. And then Fareed, same thing. He's like, bro, HD, let's go. So shout out to Cloud Lifters. We appreciate you guys. Cloud Microphones, Arturia, everybody else.
Yep.
You know,
shout
we
out
love
Criteria.
you.
Shout out Criteria Studios for letting me.
Big shout out Criteria,
Yep.
Echo Bar, Crosby, Ken.
Atmos.
Yep. Shout out Big Lou.
For sure.
Shout out Big Lou. Our executive producer putting all this together.
Man,
appreciate you very much.
Yeah,
definitely, guys. Stay tuned. Stay locked in.
Thanks for
Thank you
big
guys
thank
so
you.
much, man. This has
Yeah.
been fucking awesome.
Thanks.
We're gonna do it again. Appreciate you for nerding out with us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. And see you next time on Faders of the Lost Art.